Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ambitious Broker. Today, I've got an interview with a man by the name of Jason Campbell. Jason's out of San Antonio, Texas, and I don't know that I've ever met anyone quite like Jason. And just to give you the start, his gross income last year was over $10 million. We have a number of agents that we have interviewed over the years that are seven-figure income producers, but I don't know that we've done business with anyone or interviewed anyone that did $300 million in sales last year. So this is an incredible guy, incredible personality, owns a company called Option One, which he started with about 100 salespeople. And by the way, those transactions aren't his team, those are his sales, not his company sales. He started another office in Hawaii right now, and a very interesting guy with some really, really good advice. So I hope you enjoy it. Leave me comments if you want to. Be sure to subscribe and like and all the stuff that you do on these types of videos and podcasts. And I hope that you'll give me some good comments and let me know what you think about Jason. So enjoy. Hi, everybody. It's Roger Hance again, Ambitious Broker. I'm here today with a great character so far. I've watched his videos. I've watched a lot of your input so far, but this is Jason Campbell. Jason is the owner-broker of a company called Option One out of San Antonio, Texas, and now starting in Hawaii. You know, I can see the logical connection there. The two of them belong together, you know. But anyway, so Jason, I'm glad to have you with us. And a little background real quick is that we were just talking. And of course, before you started Option One Real Estate, you were a very productive salesperson, seven-figure GCI for more than 15 years. And that eventually led you into the idea of you should start your own company. And I think the logic that got you there is something that I'm really interested in, along with a number of other things. But let's start with this experience you had, because you were working at a real estate company in a very well-known national franchise that you told me you had a lot of respect for, but you decided, you take the story from there. I know you'd said you try to figure out what are they bringing you.
Yes, yes. So anybody got any trouble with me saying the name of said brokerage?
No, I don't care. No, I don't care.
Well, I was a Keller Williams guy for quite a while, and
Right.
my time there was spectacular. So I'm not going to talk trash about the company by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, just the opposite. I think they had a really good culture. They never made me a promise they didn't live up to. I thought it was a really great experience. So, but I was a Keller Williams guy for a long time. And I was trying to crack the code. How do I make seven figures a year? And as a realtor. And so I would run around the office all the time saying, hey, I'm a multimillionaire. I just haven't made the money yet. So I was trying to crack the code. How do I get there? I mean, there's agents out there making seven figures. The business is there. What do I need to do to get there?
One thing I'll tell you real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Expect I will do that a lot during our little session here today. But what's nice is that as a salesperson, you have so many really great agents in the industry that make that kind of money that you could say, what do they do? What is the model? There's a blueprint there. As the owner of your own company, it's a little bit more difficult. You got to chart your own path a little bit more there. But anyway.
Yes. And I finally did crack that code, and it happened in the most hilarious of ways.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so one morning I had a client who had to catch a 10 o'clock a.m. flight. So he wanted to see a vacant house before he hopped on the flight, which means I got to get my ass up super early in the morning. Anybody who knows me will tell you I am not a morning person. So I was mumbling and grumbling and bitching and complaining. I found myself in a McDonald's really early in the morning, and I don't care what anybody says, that McGriddles is delightful. I mean, it's like manna from heaven. Whoever came up with that's genius. But so when I was there, when I came in and ordered my breakfast, there was nobody in the McDonald's, nobody. And it was almost like a concert let out. So I'm in the med center. I'm surrounded by a ton of, hospitals and stuff. So my brain said, well, maybe it was a shift change. I don't know. But all of a sudden, this place went from dead to smashed. I mean, we're talking the line is out the door, literally, not figuratively. And that drive-through, is starting to wrap around the building and on into the street. And I'm like, what in the hell is happening here? And I got a sick sense of humor. Anybody who knows me knows I got a pretty sick sense of humor. So I'm sitting there going, well, I didn't know I was going to get breakfast at a show. Let me watch this nightmare unfold. And,
Right.
this is a Saturday morning. So I'm looking across the counter and I just see a bunch of high school kids running the place, right? And I was like, man, this is going to be a nightmare. Little manager comes out. She's got to be, 22, 23 years old, clearly a college student. And what I watched unfold in front of me was probably the greatest machine that I have ever seen kick on in any business, in any genre, period. And my attitude switched out real quick from wanting to see a disaster show to pulling out my journal and writing down what I'm seeing.
Really?
But what I saw was an amazing, just obviously pre-planned out, very well executed plan for handling a rush like this. So the first thing I noticed was, man, those people taking orders are just cracking. At one point I found myself, I pulled out my phone and put on my stopwatch and I'm like, let's see how long it takes to get from the door to your order. And I clocked it at about 2.5 minutes. And I was like, that's freaking impressive. I mean, Chick-fil-A could learn from this.
Right.
Whoever owns this particular McDonald's is spectacular. But I started to make some observations. This little kid comes out from the back and he's standing in the corner of the dining room. And anytime somebody got up, he's on that table and it's spotless. I mean, the place is packed silly and the dining room is spotless. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And when he didn't have anything to do, he's walking around going, can I refill your coffee? Would you like a refill? So the customer service level was there, but the food's coming out quick. I mean, they're calling order after order after order. And so I'm sitting here going, man, how the hell are they pulling this off? Right. This is amazing to me. And we're not dealing with highly professional individuals. These are high school kids, you know? And it starts to dawn on me as I'm watching this unfold. It's like, wait a minute. The girls that are behind the register, they're not turning around to fill up your coffee. That's not happening. There's a couple of people standing behind them that are getting the drinks and saying, here's your drink. We'll call your order out when your order's ready. And then they were just calling them out. But the lady at the cashier didn't do anything but that. That's it. And since she only had one job, she was spectacularly fast at it. And all of them were. There was about 4 of them sitting there just order after order after order after order. And then they're being built behind them. And then it's like, okay, I think I get it now. You don't see the guy in the back making the food out front taking an order. You don't see the cashier cleaning the table. You don't see any of that stuff. They have one job and they just got to be spectacularly good at that one job. But that one job fits into the whole puzzle. So my brain immediately went to, what does a real estate agent do? And I start writing it down. Everything I can think of. Signs in the yards, lock boxes on the door, keying shit into MLS, marketing, accounting. And it dawns on me, you know what? I'm running the whole McDonald's. And I expect it to produce. And I expect to have awesome customer service. But how can that happen when there's only 24 hours in a day and I'm one guy? So after I'd come up with this big old long list of everything that a real estate agent does, the first filter I put on it is, what requires a license? That list went, boop. So I was like, I know what I need to do to be a millionaire. I just need to make French fries. That's it. Really good, perfectly cooked, crispy, well-salted, delicious French fries.
Yeah, what's your
I'll
French fries?
hire everybody else to run the rest of the McDonald's. I'm just going to make French fries.
So what is your French fry? I'll let you get back on track.
So my French fries are having a spectacular buyer and seller experience. Also something I never learned from any broker that I've ever sat in front of. I've never had a broker sit down with me and say, hey, have you designed your client experience? What does that look like? From the time you meet them to years after closing, what happens? Have you ever sat down and mapped that? And when you mapped it out, did you say to yourself, how can I add a little surprise and delight to that? How can I one up that? How can I add a +1? How do I make everything spectacular from A to Z, right? Nobody ever sat down with me and did that. So I started to come up with the idea. I'm like, you know what? Why don't I take every single aspect of this process and figure out, now that I have more time, because I hired all these people to do the shit I had absolutely no business doing.
Yeah.
Paperwork is a great, I don't even write my own offers. I have transaction coordinators that are licensed. They write my offers for me. I tell them what to write, they write it. They hunt it down. They do all the earnest money, dealing with title crap. I don't do any of that. I haven't put a sign or a lockbox on a listing in 15 years. I haven't picked one up. It's like French fries, right? I want to stay in my lane. My lane is building relationships, cultivating existing relationships, getting referrals, getting repeat business. Also,
that's the same job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Build a relationship, find the relationship, cultivate the relationship, and then search for business.
And then try to create referral strings. Exactly. And I've got a great example of referral string that blows most people's mind. But the bottom line at the end of the day was that the key to really cracking 7 figures was having a spectacular client experience. And I'll give you an example. This is one example of many. Let's just say we're talking about the home inspection. Every buyer should get a home inspection. I mean, if you're not getting a home inspector, you're an idiot. I'll look at you like you've lost your mind. But how do I add a +1 or surprise and delight to an inspection process? These are great questions to ask if you're an agent. So it was like, you know what I came up with was I went and had some envelopes made that looked like this is your special mission, a mission envelope from the FBI, right?
Yeah.
And I would put on there, secret mission should you choose to accept it. And inside that envelope was a branded magnifying glass, says option 1 real estate on it, and a little flashlight, which you can't, there you go, little flashlight, also branded. And the message on the inside says, somewhere in this home, I have hidden a gift card. So while your inspection's going on, see if you can find it. And it was, a $50 gift card to Home Depot, right? No big deal.
That's very clever, man. Very clever.
But it added some surprise and delight. It made that memorable. And then there's another little envelope on the inside. And I said this exactly as I'm about to say it. If you are super, ultra, mega lame, here's where the gift card is. People would call me and say, okay, man, that was freaking cool. We found the gift card. Here's where it was. It took us about an hour to find it. But, I appreciated that. That was really fun.
Well, that takes it to a whole different level than where my head was at when you started talking about client experience.
Yeah.
And I can see you dabble at various stages of this experience with something unique like that, I gather.
Yes. All the way from beginning to end to years after the closing. It's how do I add a +1? How do I add surprise and delight? I have, my big whiteboard. The top of the whiteboard says, how do I wow the shit out of my clients today? That's how I start every single day. How do I wow somebody?
Right.
And so the level of wow basically determines how big my bank account is. It's a direct correlation. I wow the hell out of people. I get referrals like they're going out of style. I mean, people refer me out like they refer their favorite restaurant or movie. And
so I was watching.
Call me. You didn't call my agent? Have you lost your mind? That guy's amazing.
Right. So I was watching one of your videos, and you had accredited a lot of your success to your good looks, and I was wondering, how did you come about that? Is that something you've had to work at, or?
It's a self-delusion, let me just tell myself something, and maybe if I say it enough, it might be true.
No, you're a good-looking guy, man. That
makes
perfect sense to me.
We had core values at option 1. The first core value that we teach our agents is, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. That's our first core value. So have fun with it. I think the more fun you have with it, the more people are going to have fun working with you. And the more fun they're having, the more referrals you're going to get. And that's how 5-star reviews become very easy to get. I mean, I don't even hardly have to ask. I get them even if I don't ask.
Right.
but I want to earn that the old-fashioned way. So my thought pattern has always been, I need to wow these people. And where that comes from is let's just say you want to compare. Let's get outside the real estate business for a minute. Let's just say, okay, movies, for instance. Would I rather go to Blockbuster or would I rather do Netflix? So it's the same movie, and let's just say it's the same price. Well, I love the story of when Netflix was trying to sell to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster said, I just don't see it.
Right.
Well, who exists now and who doesn't?
Right.
So the CEO of Netflix, at one point, I saw an interview with him, and it really had a huge impact on me. He says, I went in there to pitch Netflix to Blockbuster, and what I was told was, we think our clients like to come into the store. They like to come to the new arrivals wall. They like to pick up some candy, popcorn, and sodas and take their movie home. We think that our customers like that experience. And he says, well, you know what I think is cool? I think it's cool is I'm in my bedroom and I'm buck naked and I hit a button and my movie starts.
Right.
And time has proven him wise, right? But what's the difference between the companies was the client experience.
Right.
Another example that I use is, if you're from Texas, you know what H-E-B is. H-E-B is one of the most spectacular grocery stores on the planet. And so when I'm training my team, I talk about, okay, you're going to go buy a box of Cheerios. The price is the same in both locations. Would you rather go to H-E-B or Walmart? And everybody looks at me like I've lost my mind. Oh God, H-E-B. And I get that huge reaction. Well, H-E-B, duh. Like I'm stupid for asking the question. And then I say, well, why? The experience is pretty much the same, right? You got to get in your car, you drive over to a parking lot, you go into a box building, you find a box of Cheerios, you go through the checkout line, you're in your car, you drive home. What's the difference between Walmart and H-E-B? And everybody's like, oh, it's a spectacular difference. I feel like H-E-B's cleaner. I feel like they have more employees. It doesn't feel like a ghost town. It doesn't feel like it's dirty or ghetto. I feel like I can get in and out faster because they have more registers open. The parking lot, the spaces are bigger, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and I said, well, at the end of the day, wasn't it just you had a better customer experience?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never thought about it like that. So, yeah.
And the magic word there really is the word feel.
Yeah.
How
did
feel?
you feel? And did you care? See,
Yeah.
most agents, when they're trained in real estate, nobody's ever taught to think, what is your client's perception of you? What do they think of when they think of your name? See, most of us are too transactional. Every training I've ever been is like, okay, you need to make 100 calls and, you need to get out there and do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, at what point are we talking to human beings that have feelings? And that, when are we talking about building relationships? We're in the people business. We just happen to sell houses.
I had a very unusual experience that led me to getting involved with technology, and I was selling a lot, and when I started my real estate company, and I was going for a while, all of a sudden you have to start thinking about how do I have value to the agents who come work at the company, and so I started looking at my own business, and I was noticing that I was getting a pretty good chunk of my business was referral. I was a big farming agent, and then the referral part would grow, each year. And but then I noticed that the referrals were coming from a really small group of people, maybe like 10 or 12 people. Just a lot of referrals from a small group after having hundreds of clients. And when I first started in the business, everyone talked about, eventually you'll get referrals, and that'll be good. And you'll get referrals, and so all of a sudden, I realized one day the client never takes how to treat the broker class, and I realized that they don't just automatically come to you.
No.
Some do. It's just like with my case, a small percentage, and that's the experience, I guess the aha moment that made me get into building the first CRM system in the real estate business. I said, I did this back in the 80s. It cost me a fortune. But I said, this is the way I can have value, because what I learn now is you have to ask these people to help you out. If you're happy, make me happy.
Yeah, you don't get referrals you don't ask for.
How do you find you have to create this experience, and the experience is usually relative to something else. You gave two different grocery stores as an example, this store relative to that one. In our business, you don't get people who come back so frequently. So sometimes they have an expectation, perhaps, of what the experience should be like because they haven't done it for 5, 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years. So you really, the wow experience has got to be something that surprises them. But at the same time, if they've never felt it before, how do they know it's above and beyond what the next guy might do?
You need to make that obvious. You need to make that obvious. I've even had customers tell me, okay, now you're just showing off. And I say, yeah, what do you think? I like it.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm having fun. I show up to a showing and I've got this, I don't have one in here I would show you, but I've got this little cooler that is just literally the perfect size for 6 Fiji waters.
Right.
The square bottles.
Right.
And 6 of them fit in there real well, and I can just go in and get a cup of ice and dump it in there. And so I will come meet them, and the first thing I do when I come out is I got a big smile on my face, and I go, how would you like a Gucci water? And I get a reaction just like I got from you.
Right.
And that sets the tone. So I think it's just, a lot of little things that add up to a big thing. Right. It's never one big event. It's a combination of a bunch of little ones.
I think the sense I'm getting from you is that, you're getting in the head of your customer a lot.
Yes.
You're seeing the relationship with you through their eyes and trying to feel what they feel and say, how do I make this a good experience?
Yeah.
It's a stressful transaction.
It is. And, I've learned a lot from getting outside the real estate industry. I like to learn lessons from people. How did they dominate their space? I put my mind or I try to put myself in the head of Jeff Bezos sitting in a garage. And he's thinking to himself, how do I take on Walmart? I mean, this is a company that's a juggernaut, billions and billions of dollars. How do I take them on? And look what he did. What do you think Walmart thinks about Amazon?
Right. Right.
And so, it's just being, and Jeff Bezos will tell you, if you ever watch an interview with him, he always says a lot of the same things. We obsess over customers.
Yeah.
We don't obsess about our competition. We obsess about our customers. How do I make it easier? How do I make it faster? He was the guy that pioneered the one-click purchase because he thought clicking more than once was ridiculous.
Right.
But, little things like
it's small things.
Small thing?
Really small things are big ends.
Small things. He's like, why can't I save your credit card information in the system, keep it secure? When you come onto my website, hit buy now, and you're done. We're shipping to the address on file.
Yeah.
And then he's obsessed. I saw one smaller interview with him, and I wish I could find it, but he was telling the ladies, like, I'm trying to figure out how I can deliver any product on earth, no matter where it's from, as fast as you can get a pizza.
Right.
And he figures that out. If you're Walmart, just close your doors. It's over.
Yeah. Well, it's almost there. I mean, it's almost there, and but I think that I think that people don't get obsessed enough, like you're saying.
They don't.
And how do you find it's taken some your enlightenment to bring this to people, and you first experienced it with your own transactions, and now you're trying to convert some of this thinking into your company now with over 100 agents, and what's that transition been like? How are you finding that's a cultural kind of thing within your company, I suppose?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have the thought pattern of Spartan warrior from Greece, right? Standing at the gates of Thermopylae, and the Persians are screaming to lay down my weapons, and I'm yelling back, come and get them. It's just that matter of just that, that's where the competitive nature comes out.
So that's where the beard came from.
Yeah. And I try to get in front of, an agent and say, sit down. And I start with, what do you want? You can have anything in life. What would it be? And the way we're going to reverse engineer making that into a reality is we're going to have to rewire how this works. Because we were all taught silly things by our parents when we were growing up. They said things like, don't get your hopes up. Why the hell would you ever say that to a child?
Right.
And, it came from a place of love
Right.
I don't want my baby to get hurt. No, no, no. I tell my kids, you're going to get popped in the mouth and you're going to get beat to your knees. You get back up and you keep going. Now, what do we do with participation trophies? We throw them away, Dad. That's right. We throw them away. You got to learn how to lose, right?
Right.
Um, but, getting into the head of an agent going, listen, this is a really easy.
Well, I think you got to learn how to win, but you can only do it through losing some.
Yeah. And hopefully you develop what I have, which is I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that.
It's just, let's get into the mindset of a super producer. Super producers don't sit here and worry about, does my business card look okay? I don't give a shit. You're going to throw away the business card anyway.
Yes.
I'm not going to obsess over that stuff. I'm going to obsess over stuff that makes me money. And,
Right.
I'm not going to worry about the rest. And I like to keep it simple. Again, French fries. My French fries are this. And in option one real estate, we hire people to handle everything else. You don't do paperwork. You don't put signs in yards. You don't take pictures. You don't do any of that. That's done by someone that we hired that's on staff.
Right.
Go out there and do it for you. So what I want you to do is get really good at being the cashier. Big smile. Let's build the relationship. Let's make sure you're adding surprise and delight along the way. We're going to help in some aspects. There are some things we do as a company to add surprise and delight for you. But your mindset needs to be, I need to wow this person. And then at the end of the deal, when it's all done and we're closing, take them out to eat or whatever. Your next meeting after closing, there should be a meeting after closing. There's so many agents that never do that.
Right.
I want to take you out and I want to feed you some tacos or something awesome. And my first question is usually, can I just ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, did I do a good job for you? Yes. Oh man, this was so awesome. Great. I need something in return. Well, what's that? I need a referral. Who do you know is looking to do business in Texas or Hawaii? How many of y'all out there in internet land believe you don't get, or you get referrals you don't ask for? If your hand went up, you're an idiot.
That's why I said the clients never take a how to treat the broker class.
Exactly. You got to ask for them.
You got to ask.
Consistent about asking.
I tell you what, if I'd have met you in 1975, I'd have made a lot more money.
Oh yeah.
It took me a long time to come to that same conclusion.
Yeah. But it's delivering the tools. And I think, as a broker, one of the biggest problems I identified is there was never any real value. Like, why am I here? Why am I at this brokerage? What am I getting from them that augments my business? The answer was always nothing.
Right.
They're not doing anything for me. I'm giving them some split, but I'm not getting anything in return. I had a problem with that. So I started my company with going, why should I work with option one? And I filled up pages worth of answers because I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it on my dime. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. I'm not a travel agent. I'm not going to send you someplace I've never been. I'm a tour guide. You want to know how to make 7 figures? I'll show you how to make 7 figures. Here's the blueprint. Follow the blueprint, use the tools, use the technology, use the human resources. You'll get similar results. It's that simple.
I've got an old saying I use with owners and managers when I'm consulting, and that is that you cannot solve a problem someone doesn't have. And so, to me, I think you told me you start with, what do you want? And I'm kind of curious right now, as you hire people, I'm having a sense that you may reject hiring someone who can't tell you what they want.
Yes. In Hawaii, when I first got there, I did 38 interviews. I only hired 3 agents. And what I was looking for is I wanted to see a little savage. I need to see a little savage in you. What I don't want to hear is, well, I kind of want to do real estate as a part-time gig. Stay where you're at.
Right.
This isn't the brokerage for you.
Yeah.
Now, this is a full-time gig. I'm really big into service to the client and client experience, and you can't provide that as a part-time agent. Can't do it. It's impossible. At least
so
not.
Your company requires some part-time people.
No, I want 0 part-time people. If you're part-time, stay where you're at.
When I first started doing this, one of the first people a couple of years ago that does this is a lady named Keller Williams. And she's $1.5 million a year kind of income person. She's done it for years. Her husband, very successful. They own property, Coronado Island, everywhere. Very wealthy people. She's done just absolutely great. And she reminded me one day, which I didn't know, that early on she had applied to come work at my company, and we didn't hire her. And we didn't hire her because she was part-time at the time. And she said, "Look at the mistake you made." And I said, "I did make a mistake, and by not hiring you. However, if it wasn't my policy, I would have hired 100 that weren't like you, and that would have been a bigger disaster."
It would have
You
been a
know,
cultural nightmare, yes.
a cultural nightmare. Yeah.
So
So
what
that
I do with
how
part-time
important?
people is I'm going to ask you the killer question. Are
Yeah.
you here to get rid of the job? Because if you got a plan, the reason I'm here is because I want to dump that job. Okay, I'll get on that train with you. But if you say, no, man, I really love my job and I want to stay there, I just kind of want to add a secondary income, go somewhere else.
Right.
Not the right brokerage for you.
Right. And how close can you stay to people? I mean, I found that when I got beyond about 30 some people, it was really hard to. I mean, we end up with hundreds of salespeople, but just to be honest, I mean, I was far less effective when I got my second office became a little bit more difficult than my having only one and stuff like that. But that we were very per person productivity mindset. And you have to kind of stay on top of that for their sake and the sake of your culture.
Yeah. No, that's been a real challenge. I learned this from Sam Walton, actually. Sam could tell you the name of the janitor that worked at store number 453. And so I was like, man, I think there's something there because I think Walmart was never the same company when Sam Walton passed.
Right.
But Sam at the time, he knew you and he was going to send letters to you saying, hey, thank you for being part of this company. We love you. We appreciate you. So it's been a real big priority of mine to try to stay in front of as many agents as I can. The second one that I learned was from Jack Daly. I don't know if you know who Jack Daly is.
I don't.
Jack is a guy who had one of the largest mortgage brokerages in Orange County, California. Old guy, triathlete, super high energy guy, even in his old age. I mean, that guy'd probably run us all into the dirt together. But Jack always used to say, man, have they earned your time? Are they doing anything that earns your time? Because you should be spending your time with your top producers, not trying to babysit your lower 20%.
Right.
And in his mind, he's like, look, if you want an effective company, you need to fire your lower 20% every single year. I haven't gotten there. I'm too much of a people person, but I think he's onto something. Because he's like, if you want to build a culture of killers, you got to drop the dead weight. And in any brokerage I've ever seen, including my own, there's 80% of them doing 20% of the business.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's just like, okay, well, can we help these people? Yes or no? Do they have the level of savage they need to get from here to here? I don't know. If the answer is no, they probably should go on down the road. But if they're savable, I want to save them.
And that was always my feeling too. It's they can be culture killers if you're trying to have that revved up, culture. I think a good takeaway from this today, if there's nothing else, and I'd like to touch on it a little bit longer, is this idea, especially the way the real estate world is changing right now. This idea that you map out a relationship with someone from the moment you meet them forever. And you don't think of the end of the transaction as being the end of your relationship and then hope they send you something, right?
That's the beginning.
That's the beginning. That's the beginning. And it's interesting because like you said, and I'm going to ask you to tell me a story here that I heard, but I've had a lot of very good relationships that have gone on for years with people that I had sold homes to. I even went in business with some customers and had a couple successful businesses with customers that I just met, through this process. But you have the best story I ever heard of, and it's the rabbi story. Would you share that one?
Oh, yes. That is an example of if you have a commitment to wowing your customers, what that can look like. Okay, so this story.
And a little background real fast is that often an agent will think that this client is you just sold them a house, and maybe they'll sell in 5 or 10 or 15 years, and they forget they're more valuable not selling and being an extension of your network.
Yeah.
And reach out to their network. And that's kind of what your story is about.
And this is where you've got to buckle down as an agent and say, look, I'm not going to be so transactional. I'm going to be more relational. And that is so key. And so this story is an example of what that can look like if you start creating what I like to call referral strings. So this is a referral that leads me to a referral that leads me to a referral. It's a referral string. And where does that go? I chase that business as far as it'll take me every single time. And I've got multiple referral strings going at any given moment. So this particular referral string starts with a realtor.com lead. $350,000 budget. It is one of the two Jewish rabbis in the U.S. Army being stationed in San Antonio, and he's just looking for a home for his family. So a lot of people wouldn't really think too much about that. You know, it's just a $350,000 lead. It's basically just an average home sale. This is not how my brain works. My brain does not work like that. All the big ones come from the little ones. And, everybody who always asks me, how do I get in the luxury market? You kill it in the small market first.
Right.
Those people know people that know people that know people. And if you figure this out, you'll realize that most of your luxury type stuff does not come as a lead. It comes as a referral most of the time.
Yep.
So realtor.com lead. I talk to him on the phone. We're setting an appointment. I'm asking a lot of what I like to call green questions, which are not real estate related. I'm pretty good at that. Tell me about your family. What's everybody's favorite subject? Themselves. So I ask a lot of questions. Hey, what's your story? Tell me about you. I'm a rabbi in the Army. I'm like, wow, you don't really hear much about Jewish rabbis in the Army. So yeah, I'm only one of two. I'm like, wow, that's pretty spectacular. Well, hey, let me get this home set up for you. And I'll call you back, and I'm going to pull a few other homes for you, and we'll just go pop open as many doors as you'd like to see. Sounds great. So we set it up. In the meantime, because I want to wow the crap out of people, I had the presence of mind to go home and get on Google. Okay, what is important to a Jewish Orthodox client when it comes to houses? Let me educate myself on the Jewish faith, a kosher home, all the particulars that I need to know about a home buying process for somebody who's an Orthodox Jew. I am not Jewish. I don't know this stuff. Luckily, Google does. So I go in there and I Google it and I start learning things like culturally, shake the man's hand, do not shake the wife's hand. You can't do that. It's disrespectful. He, as a rabbi, might have actually physically stopped me from shaking her hand. So I was like, okay. Her touching another man in that faith is disrespectful. So I'm not even going to put her in that position. So the other things that I Googled, I'm like, okay, let's look up kosher house. So I learned that you got to have 2 dishwashers, 2 sinks, 2 refrigerators, because meat and dairy can never meet. I'm like, oh, that's good to know. How many homes out there have 2 separate kitchens, so to speak? I found 6 of them. The other thing I learned is they can't drive on the Sabbath. So I figured, you know what? It'd be really smart if I picked out homes that were within walking distance so they could walk to it on the Sabbath and not have to drive. But how would I know that if I didn't have the commitment to find out?
Right.
Because again, I want to wow this guy. I want him to think, wow, this is the greatest agent ever. So I look all this stuff up. I meet him up.
And that's because you're anticipating their feelings again.
Proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah.
I'm very military in my thinking. You never, never, never go on to the field of battle without battle plans Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, because Alpha is going to go to shit right off the bat.
Right.
So planning it out. When I met him, did the Gucci water thing, because obviously water's kosher. We're good. He got a kick out of that. I shook his hand. I put my hands behind my back, and I greeted his wife very warmly. He caught that. He says, how come you didn't try to shake my wife's hand? I said, well, in the Orthodox Jewish faith, that would be very disrespectful to touch your wife. And he was like, very good, young man. I mean, right off the bat, I made a huge impression with just one tiny little thing. I said, well, it gets better. I've got 6 homes lined up for us today. Each one of them has 2 sinks, 2 dishwashers, 2 refrigerators. And all of them have hard surfaces so that when you move in, you can kosherize the home on day 1. You're good to go. Also, every single one of them is within walking distance of a shoal, because I know you can't be driving on the Sabbath. his brain goes, he says, I can't even begin to tell you how hired you are.
Really?
I've had to educate realtors. I'm in the military. We bought and sold tons of houses. Nobody's ever showed up this prepared. Color me impressed. It's like, great. That's exactly what I was going for.
The answer to the new buyer compensation agreements, I guess, huh?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's business as usual. I was doing all this stuff anyway.
Sure.
So, imagine me now having to say, okay, in order for me to show you homes, I just need you to sign this. I've already built enough value now. I'm hired. Done. It's a non-issue. So, fast forwarding, he buys the third house, which is always weird. 80% of the time, it's the third house. I can't tell you why. But he buys the third house. The guy's over the moon. I got him a spectacular deal on it. All his closing costs covered, VA, easy squeezy. He actually got his earnest money back at closing, which blew his mind again, because I try to engineer that whenever I can. And here we are. And he invites me and my wife over for dinner. Of course, I accept that invitation. And what happens? I sit there and I say, Rabbi, let me just ask you, did I do a good job for you? He says, oh, young man, I bought and sold so many homes in the military over my career. I got to tell you, this is by far the best experience I've ever had. I mean, it just seems like you were always 2 steps ahead of me the whole way. And that thing you did with the inspection, that was brilliant. My wife got such a kick out of that.
Yeah.
But so many examples of what I do along the way, but that's just the one. But at the end of that, I said, okay, well, I need something in return. He says, name it. I said, I need a referral. Who do you know looking to buy or sell homes in Texas? He says, well, my brother-in-law wants to buy a couple of investment homes. Now, that's what I heard. That's what I was told. I called the brother-in-law and said, hey, I just helped Rabbi Stern buy his new property over here. He said I needed to give you a call. You were looking for investment properties. He goes, oh, no. I got a way bigger problem than that. I've got a huge tax problem, and the way we're going to solve it is I need to buy a bunch of residential rentals, and I'm going to depreciate the first 7 years of all of those, and I haven't been able to find a broker that can give me enough of them. I said, okay, well, what are you talking about here? It says, I need to spend $150 million by June. Can you do it? And the caveat is each unit needs to make sense. I mean, you can't just give me a group of them. I need each individual unit to be a solid rental. And I'm like, okay, this is a way harder order to fill than it sounds. Because I got to find 600 homes that basically make sense on paper. And the first one, I almost had a deal done with a builder. I was so close. We were just going to buy a whole neighborhood. And then the appraisal started coming in low. It's like, crap, now they don't make money on, now it doesn't make sense on paper. So those aren't going to work. And I put together another 5 deals after that. So I had 6 different deals that made great sense, all fall apart for all various reasons. But I'll be damned if I'm letting down one of 2 rabbis in the U.S. Army. Not happening, especially his brother-in-law. No way, that's family. I got to make this happen.
Right.
So, I'm racking my brain. Where can I find these homes? And I settled in on a mid-sized company in Houston where they buy homes that are distressed or have title problems. And they come in, they fix them up, put lipstick on a pig, sell them for under market value so that they churn quick. That's their business model. So I talked to the owner of the company. I said, hey, man, can we do about 600 of these with an average sales price of X? And he was just like, oh, crap. That's a lot of houses. I'm like, we got $150 million sitting on the table. We need to make disappear. Can you do it or not? And he's like, I think we can. We'll have to pick up some additional crews or whatever. But so in the span of about 5 months, we got 638 homes completely sold. He bought them all for under market value. So each unit made sense on paper. And we got them with a really badass property manager, which is not me. I connected those dots, and he got them all pretty much rented out within the first year of ownership, but he solved his tax problem.
I don't think I've ever heard of a human being in real estate selling 600 houses in 5 months, 7 months. I mean, it's got to be the number one largest, most incredible transaction ever. I mean, that's a good year for a good sized company.
Well, it was an idea that I actually got from an attorney who was curing title on a flip for a flipper. And then I thought in my head, there's got to be a company out there that specializes in this. And
Yeah.
so I started hunting. I started, again, Googling. And I found several companies. I found one large enough that I thought could handle the volume. But the thing that I always like to tell everybody is, listen, the first one was a lead. The second one never would have been a lead because none of these homes are in MLS.
Oh,
Not one of them's listed. So it never would have come from Zillow or Realtor.com or Google. None of that ever would have happened.
right.
So you might say, well, Jason, you got lucky with that one. I said, okay, well, maybe I did. Maybe I was just the right guy at the right place at the right time. However, let me demonstrate a pattern now. The pattern is at the end of the light or at the end of the rainbow, 638 houses later, I say, okay, man, we solved all your problems. We got you all the houses you were looking for. Let me just fire a question at you. Did I do a good job for you? Oh, yeah, I can't believe you did it. You know how many brokers I talked to? In fact, I was trying to engage multiple brokers until you came up with the plan. And I said, okay, then I need something in return. Who do you know looking to do business in Texas or Hawaii?
Well, I got to tell you something. Takeaway number 2 from this, if there isn't another one, could be a line that as simple as, "Did I do a good job for you?" Because it seems that line and your one follow-up line made you about $10 million.
Yeah. So here's the next part of the string. He says, well, do you do business in Fredericksburg, Texas? I said, absolutely. He says, man, you need to talk to my hedge fund guy. My hedge fund guy his wife just got a degree in making wine, and she wants a winery. Give him a call. We were just talking on the phone the other day. Maybe you can help, because she didn't want to go to California. She wanted to do it in Texas. So I'm like, okay. I give her a call or talk to the hedge fund guy. He says, oh, yeah, my wife wants to do this cockamamie, business thing on the side. I want to make her happy. So, yeah, we need to get a winery. What you got? I said, well, there's actually 3 of them actively for sale and 2 of them that would sell if you made them the right offer. So why don't we just line up a time for you guys to come on out? Let's go see all 5 of them, see if anything grabs you. And, of course, when he gets here, I take him to my favorite hole-in-the-wall taco joint in Fredericksburg, and we talk about anything but real estate. Because, again, relationships, all about relationships.
Right.
So fast forwarding a little bit, it came down to 2 wineries out of the 5, and she couldn't decide which one she liked more because they were both pretty spectacular. Hedge fund guy says something that shocked the hell out of me. He's like, fuck it, let's just buy them both. What? It must be nice to be able to stroke a $50 million check without blinking. I'm like, wow, hopefully I can grow up to be like you someday.
Yeah.
Story doesn't end there. At the end of that rainbow, we're sitting down, we're celebrating, we're eating dinner at winery number 2, by the way, because they had a really spectacular kitchen there and they had a chef and all that stuff. So we're eating a really nice dinner at the winery. And I say, did I do a good job for you? Yes, I can't believe it. This is so great. My wife is so happy. She's got her whole family moving in. This is going to be a big thing for us. And I'm like, great, I need something in return. Who do you know looking to do business in Texas? He says, well, honestly, there's going to be about 7 of them moving over, and they all want big acreage because, that's what you think of when you think Texas. They want a big ranchette. And we would like them as close to each other as we can possibly get. Can you find me 7 pieces that are 50 acres or more? And I'm going, oh, shit. Can't I ever get an easy one?
Yeah, right.
There's not that many properties out there of that size that are anywhere near each other at the time. So I'm just like, God, how am I gonna fill this order? So I'm at the taco joint the next day in Fredericksburg, and in comes the owner of winery number 2, previous owner. And I tell him, I said, man, I'm having trouble. They want me to find, 7 ranches that are 50 acres or more. And the guy's eyeballs go like this. He says, man, my best friend from high school is selling off his family ranch. And he broke it into 10 pieces already. They're already surveyed out. And the smallest one is 50 acres. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Give me his number right now. He doesn't need to list that shit. I got him sold already. Called them up. They bought 7 of those pieces, and they're adjoining. And it's like,
Wow.
okay, that was divine. That was the good Lord helping me out on that one.
Right.
But at the end of that rainbow, there was a little over $7 million in commissions
Wow.
from a realtor.com lead at 350,000.
Right.
But the thing that I always point out is not one of those properties after the referral was in MLS. None of them were in realtor.com or Zillow.
You know, I call it manufacturing listings. And you know, I've always said 15% of everything built is for sale. They may not want to put it on the market, but it's for sale. And that's right. You can't get lazy and stuck in MLS, particularly when we're in a low inventory market like we are right now. You just have to ask a lot of questions and to a lot of people.
Yeah. So that, in 2023, I sold 200 more homes on top of all that and ended up at 11.9 total GCI for the year.
Wow.
But a lot of that stuff was referral. Most of it was referral. Very few of that was actually a new lead.
Right.
But all of that shit was not in MLS, so it never would have been a lead to begin with. You had to put yourself in a position to get the referral. And I did so by asking for it. Really, really high tech, right? I asked for it and I got it. But I earned it the wrong way.
Are you naturally an outgoing person, or is this something that you've had to find within yourself?
I was a military brat growing up, so yeah,
You moved around a lot.
You got
forced to meet a lot
fast.
of people.
Yeah, we were never anywhere more than 2 to 3 years at a time, so making friends fast was something you got to pick up.
Can you give us a couple more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to go back to. We've got some good takeaways here, and I'd like to know, how would you describe good service? Because so many ways to say I want to give good service, and I've never heard an agent say I give bad service, so use me. But to your point earlier, you don't see a lot of them that have actually mapped it out, spelled. In other words, this A to Z. Pathway. So
you don't see those in broker training classes, right? Nobody ever sits down and says, okay, let's design our client experience. So there's a book that I recommend everybody get called Mr. Schmooze. And that's spelled SHMOOZE, Mr. Schmooze. It's on Audible. Everybody who listens to you should get that book right now. It is a foundational book. You're welcome. You're welcome, Mr. Schmooze. But that, I think that a client experience is proactive, customer service is reactive. So proactive meaning I'm going to design what this is going to look like on purpose. And I think step one is to ask yourself, if I was buying a home and I hired a realtor, what would that realtor look like? What's the perfect agent look like in my mind? Mm-hmm. Start there. Okay, let's map it out. When the lead comes in, what's step one? Well, my brain says I want to impress them right off the bat, so speed the lead is going to be huge. I'm going to dial that damn thing instantaneously. I don't care what I'm doing. I might be in front of someone and I'll say, hey, do you mind if I take this call real fast? Beep. Nobody's ever said no, so I'm going to call them right now.
Right.
A lot of times they're still looking at it on their computer screen going, oh, shit, I'm literally still looking at it.
That's so basic, isn't it? Answer the damn phone.
Oh, God, yes. Yes. And in Hawaii, I can tell you that that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm so successful is I answer my phone. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, hey, man, I've called so many different agents. Nobody answered. You did. You're hired. Right there. Yeah. You didn't have to show me anything else. I answered my phone.
Yeah, that's a great video. That's a great video you got where you're bench pressing the phone.
Yeah. I know I need to reshoot that.
It's not that heavy. Lift it. Yeah, pick it up. Yeah.
Pick up the phone. It's not 800 pounds.
Yeah. Okay, so you start by picking up the phone.
Yeah. So and then what then you want to be really good with your scripting. I mean, how many people have sat down and wrote a script on here's what I'm going to say? Again, proactive versus reactive, right? So in my mind, your call script is free throws. So if you're a professional basketball player at any level, I don't care, you're playing overseas or you're NBA, what do you think if you're getting paid to play a game? Do you or do you not practice the most basic shot in basketball, which is a free throw? Mm-hmm. Do you practice that daily? I think the answer is yes.
Oh,
If
yeah.
not, you ain't going to be in the NBA for long, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why are we as professional agents not practicing our free throws every day?
Right.
You've got a cell phone. Now, this thing has a video on it. You can set this thing up and have it record you practicing your script. What is my body language? Am I into this call? Am I leaning forward? My shoulders back? Do I got a smile on my face? I'm calling you back about the home at 123 Awesome Street. Why are you not practicing that every single day and making sure it's spectacular? Because you want, championships are won and lost on the free throw line.
People sometimes, I found out, they feel something about having something pre-planned as being phony. And I really think it's prepared.
Yeah. Victory loves preparation.
Yeah.
So I learned this from my grandfather, who was a master chief in the Navy, very hardcore man. But he used to say while I was growing up, victory loves preparation. If you ever want to win, prep ahead of time. You'll always win. People who are comic book fans, the reason why Batman is so spectacular is he always plans things out ahead of time. Even if he's facing an overwhelming opponent, he's already outthought them before he even showed up. Yeah. So these are the things that you need to do as an agent if you want to be awesome. But sit down and design every single aspect of the home buying and selling process and ask yourself, how do I add a +1? How do I make this part of it better? How do I make this surprise and delight? If I'm going to send somebody something in the mail, what am I sending?
Yeah.
I've never gone to a training course at any level in real estate where they finish the sentence like I like to call it. Well, you need to get out there and make 100 calls. End of sentence. Like, oh, wait a minute, that's only half. Who am I calling? Who am I calling? When I do call them, what do I say?
Right.
Where am I getting the numbers from? Finish the sentence.
Yeah.
So I think customer service is, the best analogy I can give you going back to basketball is Coach Popovich in 1999 when they won their first championship. He was being interviewed on KINS 5 TV San Antonio. And they said, Pop, it just seems like you shut everybody down in the fourth quarter. How are the Spurs? Why do they have such spectacular defense? And his answer hit me in the head like a brick. He says, well, it's not that we have great defense. It's that we've got 5 guys on the floor that want to play defense. Right. And so I substituted the words defense for customer service. It's not that I have badass customer service. It's that I want to proactively have badass customer service. Right. I'm going to plan it out ahead of time. I'm going to know my plays. I'm going to know what I'm going to say before I say it. I know why I'm saying it. I know where I'm trying to go with it. All that stuff was planned out ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. I always say to people that you want to be the influencer, not the influenced, and because you have a tendency to let the energy of the other person start to control the environment, and you're really saying if I have a plan, not only on where I want to go, but the things I need to say to keep me on that pre-planned track, then I'm prepared to win. I'm prepared for victory.
Yeah. And you can always derail your customer when they go off the rails. And the easiest way to do that is with asking questions. Oh, man, your dog died. That is horrible. I mean, a dog is almost like another kid in the family. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Right.
Okay. Right. Well, obviously, I have no control over that piece, but let me ask you, what side of town do you want to stay focused on? So I'm going to give you the empathy first, but then I'm going to get you back on track.
Right.
Hey, have you gotten another dog? Do we need a fenced yard?
Yeah, and it's hard to get back on track if there is no track to begin with.
Exactly. So you need to lay the track ahead of time.
Got it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think good customer service, honestly, is a lost art in today's society. What's really funny is when somebody does have spectacular customer service, it's newsworthy.
It's newsworthy, yes.
Because it's so out of the ordinary. People are so used to bad service that when you give them really good service, they almost don't know how to handle it.
Right.
But it turns into referrals. And so it's always a means to an end. I always think of myself a lot like, I don't know if you ever saw that movie with Kaiser Sose. Did you ever see that one?
I don't think so.
God, what's the name of that movie? It was a really good one. Kevin Spacey. Usual Suspects.
Okay.
If you haven't seen The Usual Suspects, you should watch that one. There's a character called Kaiser Sose. But Kaiser always had everything planned out to the complete detail way ahead of time. And then
Right.
all he did was play his part.
And the thing is, again, it's not what I would call great sales technique necessarily. It's great service in that these people don't do this very often. They need some direction. And even when they think they don't, the truth is they do probably, and they need to, the skill to get them back on that track again is really part of what separates a person who's committed to their career and someone who's an opportunist waiting for the next acting job, maybe.
So you're either a professional or it's amateur hour. And I think professionals, they've got everything planned out ahead of time. Victory loves preparation.
Yeah.
So you asked me, Jason, gosh, man, how did you sell $328 million worth of real estate in 1 year as a realtor? I planned it. It's not a surprise to me. It's
Right.
just, this is the result of the planning that I did.
Yeah. You didn't plan the exact number, but you planned the process that leads to referrals, that leads to the business that you want to do.
Yeah. And I'm not focused on the outcome. I'm focused on the process. The outcome will take care of itself.
So is Popovich the best basketball coach ever?
Until he got political on me, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that was bad for business because politics and business never mix. But
Yeah, I agree with that.
as far as a raw coach taking it all out of it, I think he's probably one of the best ever.
Yeah, I'm a big basketball fan. Anytime it comes up, who's your top five, or who would you pick in, your first five players in history, I always start with Popovich because I think it almost doesn't matter because 1 through 50 is all pretty good. Give me the right guy that can control them, and I think Pop's the guy.
Oh yeah, no, Pop is tough as nails for sure, and I love what he used to teach his players because my son was a very gifted basketball player, so he used to work out at the Spurs facility all the time. But there's a big picture on the wall that shows a guy breaking a stone with a hammer, and he always says, "Man, it's not that blow that broke the stone that matters. It's all the blows that came before it."
Right.
That's just the one that did the deal, but it was really all the thousands of other hits that came before it that got you there.
Right.
So that was a really good lesson. It's like, you've got to. So I always say the best way to write a story is to start with the ending and go backwards.
Go backwards. Yeah, you said, go back and re-engineer or reverse engineer.
Yeah. So what do you want? Let's start there.
Yeah.
At the end of the rainbow, what does it look like? Because otherwise, what's the point? There's so many people out there that are aimlessly going, well, I just want to be successful. What does that mean? Exactly. Tell me what that means.
You summed it up in an A through Z path to a relationship that you never lose. I always tell people rule number one in real estate is your income is directly proportionate to how many people know, like, and trust you and know what you stand for.
You are not wrong. You're dead on.
Yeah. So tell me, and again, man, I really, Jason, appreciate your time, and I feel like I'm going to have to suck you back into another one of these conversations someday.
I get that a lot.
maybe we can leave this with some maybe your best 1 or 2 or 3 things for someone that's brand new in the business or trying to reinvent themselves right now to get back into this. What are the must-dos in your mind?
So the must-dos are always go back to the basics. So let's remember when Vince Lombardi won his Super Bowl, he grabbed a football and he says, "Gentlemen, this is a football."
Yeah.
What are the basics?
Yeah.
The basics are you need to practice your scripts on the phone. If you're spectacularly good on the phone and you have a lot of confidence and you know what you're going to say ahead of time and you're ready for any objections because you've practiced 1,000 times, then your business is going to explode. Here's another quote for you. I'm a big quote guy, right? Because I think there's a lot of really brilliant people in our history we can learn from. This one comes from Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee used to say, "I do not fear the man that practices 10,000 kicks. I do, however, fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times."
Right.
Because that guy's going to kick the shit out of you.
Right.
So it's just like,
no, I think it's great.
It's over and over and over again. And you think it's silly, but every morning, I've been in the business 30 years as of June. I still practice my basic phone script every morning like clockwork. And it's hilarious. My children can stand behind me and lip sync the words.
Yeah.
because they've heard it so many times.
And the thing, Jason, about that is that it's far more important that you say what you say well than what you say.
Yes.
Almost. I mean,
Confident.
there's 100, and you'll say something your way because you're one kind of person, and I'll say it a different way, and because I'm a different personality, perhaps, and we may say the same thing or we may not. But the fact that we can say it comfortably, that it's coming from a place of integrity, and goodwill, it's probably going to work.
And I'll tell you, one of the big lead generation companies out there, I don't know how they statted me, but they did. They said that based on what they could see, I have the highest conversion rate of any realtor in the entire country on the phone. But I have practiced that script millions of times.
Over and over.
For
Are
30
you someone?
straight years.
Are you someone that, or do you encourage your people to be buying leads from Zillow and these various places?
I think it's a great way to start.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the end all be all. I think there's too many people out there who think their whole business is Zillow.
Right.
Or realtor.com or Google pay-per-click or wherever you're getting it from.
Right.
The lead, to me, a lead is an icon. I liken it to an icon on a computer. You click on the icon and the whole program opens up.
Right.
Right. So I think a lead is an icon to their sphere of influence. Once I get to them and I build the relationship with them, their whole sphere opens up.
Right.
Now it's like, okay, well, who do you know?
Right.
You'd be surprised who people know. And that's where the real money is. So I think if you're too transactional and you're focused on that lead and closing that lead, call a lead, close a lead, your business is limited.
Yeah, get back in the big picture.
Yeah, and the big problem with that is what happens when Zillow takes your zip code and says, well, I'm taking your zip code and putting it into Flex now.
Right.
I'm not renewing your contract. Now what are you going to do? You're screwed.
Yeah, I'm one who wishes Zillow would have never come along, frankly. But it is what it is, and
they're out there. They're a means to an end. They're going to
Yep.
introduce you to a lot of people that you would not have ordinarily had a chance to talk to.
Yep.
So I think they're a good business tool, but I think you need to be thinking way ahead of that. I'm going to turn this lead into 4 referrals.
Right.
And I'm going to create referral streams and see where it takes me. I think that's how you approach a Zillow or Realtor.com lead, is think of it as an icon on a computer.
A chance to meet someone that you put on the path from now in a relationship forever.
Wow the shit out of them along the way, and then
Right.
after closing, plan out what happens then.
Right.
How many touches are they going to get after closing?
Right.
What are you going to do? How are you going to wow them?
Right.
And then that evolves. It evolves into some really awesome karma, because right under how do I wow my clients is how many random acts of kindness am I going to commit to people who I will never benefit from?
Right.
And that's just being a better human.
Yeah,
But I think
exactly.
that's absolutely going to translate into your business in ways you can't even imagine.
Yeah. That's a really hard thing to kind of own. You have to live through some of this, but you have to get committed to it. It's a faith-based thing. You get out and say, I'm just going to be a good person with good intent, goodwill, do the right thing, and then hopefully work my ass off and see if this doesn't come back. It
And
comes
I'm
back.
definitely a religious person, and my Bible tells me that whatever I sow, I shall reap tenfold.
Right.
So I want to make sure I'm sowing good stuff out there all the time. And it
Well, man,
always
you-
comes back.
You
It
must
always-
be sowing the way you're reaping. I'll tell you, it's it's doing,
Well, it's been
doing really great.
spectacular. Last year was the first year I made 8 figures as a realtor, first time ever. I mean, I've been in the business 30 years. So my 30th year, I hit 8 figures, not 7. And it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And of course, the way my brain works is, well, 8 was cool, but I bet you 9's cooler. So
Yeah.
now I'm trying to figure out how I can get to 9.
Man, I'll tell you what. When you start saying I've hit a goal to do 10 million in income or more, and I want to up my goal to 100 million, and you're only saying I need to go 10 times more. That's an ambitious broker, man.
Well, I've had a saying that I've always lived by since I was a teenager. And that is, I don't know how I'm going to win. I just know I'm not going to lose.
Right. Okay. I think it's a great way to finish this off. The one thing I've noticed, through the hundreds of agents that I've had and coached, thousands maybe, competitiveness is maybe the most important ingredient you can put into your toolbox, huh?
I think so. at least personally.
Yeah.
It adds a lot of fun for me because it's like, okay, I'm going to pick a target and I'm going to go beat them, somebody who's doing better than me.
Yeah. And do you do it that way? Do you look at what you do and you're competitive to your own standard, or you like seeing you see what someone else does, and you think about beating them, or you think about using that as an inspiration for what you could be able to do?
I think probably a combo of both.
Yeah.
For me, when I see an agent out there who's doing just outrageous numbers, it's a 6-minute mile to me. Oh, it can be done. If they can do it, then so can I.
Right.
So there's that part of me, but then there's the part that's like, I think I can beat your ass. And they may never know I'm competing with them.
Right.
I'm not going to call them up and
Right.
say, hey, I'm going to beat your butt. No. But I will be watching them for the whole year. And I'm like, where am I at in regards to them? And that's just me being really competitive.
Right.
And at one point I started picking entire teams. And then I got to a point where I was picking entire brokerages. Like last year, I wanted to beat all of Remax in San Antonio by myself.
Right.
And came in 338 million. Let's just say the vast majority of real estate Remax companies didn't come anywhere close to that.
Well, we called this show Ambitious Broker, and man, if there's ever been anyone that fulfills that, I think it's been you, Jason. So,
well, I want to build a national brand. That's the end goal. I want to have an option one real estate in every major market, and I want to. My main goal right now is, and I told this to Tom Ferry, who accosted me out of nowhere, because I'm always wearing Hawaiian shirts that look like they need batteries, so I stand out in the crowd pretty fast. But he came down off the stage at Realtor.com's Thrive 100, and he says, "What's your goal?" And I said, "I want to manufacture 100 millionaires." And he sat back and said, "Wait, what?" So I usually hear people want a certain GCI, or they want this many agents, or they want this many transactions. But you're saying you want to manufacture 100 people that make 7 figures a year. So yes, that's my goal. He's like, wow, that's probably the best goal I've ever heard. I'm speechless.
I love that goal, man. I do. And I think,
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I'm going to do it.
well, but and the thing is, it is doable. Man, we can have some offline talk about that, but I'd love to know more about your plans.
That goal. Yeah, I'd love to pick your brain.
You've
been in it longer than me. I've been in it 30 years, and you got my butt kicked.
Well, I tell you,
what year was it when you got into it?
I started in 1974.
All right, I was born in 1974.
Yeah,
so.
thanks. Trying to make me feel bad. This is some kind of psychological kind of weaponry to get competitive against me, which,
I think you've probably forgotten more about real estate than I know.
I don't know, my friend. But I sure appreciate you being with me and taking the time. Have a great time in Hawaii. Good luck. Anything I can ever do to return the favor, please feel free to reach out. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you got any little techniques on how to help agents get to be millionaires, I'm all ears.
We'll be talking.
All right, brother. Thank you for having me on. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. You too.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.